Right, the last function in live mode is the command function, which, as you may have guessed, enters command mode. Now, as with all other functions, you can map it to any key or multiple keys if you want. One slight complication, this function is also used as a calibration reference point. So if you choose a non-C key, you'll be asked if you want to change the reference key. Now, this is outside the scope of this video, so for now just say no. So if we use the C key up here, no problem, but if we use a non-C key, you get a prompt. Okay, let's try the live keyboard. And as soon as you press the command key, you can see we've gone into command mode and nothing works. So why is that? All keys in command mode are mapped to the ignore function. They're all blank. So there's no sound, and worse still, there's no way back to live mode. There are a few ways of getting out of this. One is on the main menu. There's an action escape option, or Control and E, and that takes you back to live mode. But another way, seeing as how we've got the key mapper open, we can just map a function in command mode. So let's go back to command mode. As before, we're stuck. So to get back, let's map an escape function. Again, you can map it to any key you like. I'll map it to D. All the keys have no effect until I press D, and we're back to live. And notice the D key can now play a note. It plays a note in live mode, but in command mode it just acts as escape. So now we can get to and from these two modes. What can we do with them? Now, first we need to look at the logic behind command sequences. Now, these always start from live mode and have 4 steps. There's the command key to get to command mode, followed by one or more selection keys, which are optional, then the command itself, and then one or more data keys, which are again optional. Now, command sequences always try to return to live mode when they've completed. So if we map enough functions to perform a valid command sequence, we can start to do something useful. Now, 2 of the steps are optional, so we'll start with the simplest command sequences which don't use these. The optional data step 4 is used for commands such as program change, where the data step provides the actual program number required. But a command such as program-change-increment just increments the current value, so it doesn't need any data. We can also avoid the optional selection step by utilising Sequetron's default selection behaviour. Now, if you click Settings Behaviour, you can see the current factory setting is to select all sequences by default for all command types. Now, we haven't got onto sequences just yet, and we're just using the live output, so we'll make live the default selection for our command. Our command is to do with prog changes, and that's part of the MIDI attribute family. We'll also unset the all sequences select for this command. So let's clear these commands away, and we'll map the prog change increment command further up the keyboard out of the way, say this key here. As before, if you don't know which key it is, just watch the lights, and there it is, C4. In command mode, we want to map the prog change increment or prog plus command. Now, if we scroll down the list, which is mostly in alphabetical order, we can get to the prog plus command. And there it is. Now, we need a means of getting into command mode, so we'll use the same key for the command function. So now we've got all the keys playing live until we get to C4, which switches to command mode. See the command lights up. Now if we press C4 again, we'll increment the program change number and we go back to live mode. Do it again. At a step backwards through the sounds, we can map a program-change-increment command, or prog minus. Now you can do exactly the same with the channel number. You've got an increment and decrement, and velocity, and port, and tempo. Several other commands have increment and decrement variations. Now if you notice, as we're playing live, as soon as we go to command mode, those keys no longer play. But once you press the command to complete the command sequence, we're back in live mode. Now if you press those keys very quickly, the interruption is minimal, and the whole design of the command sequence syntax is to make that interruption as small as possible. That's why there's no enter key. The command knows how many keys it needs and is self-completing. Now you can avoid the interruption altogether by mapping any other unused keys in command mode to the live play function. So if we make this the current key, change the arrow direction and use the pre-fill play, we fill in all command mode keys to be a live function. So now, once we go to command mode, they carry on playing. So with just this simple mapping, you've converted your plain keyboard into one with embedded MIDI attribute controls. Okay, that's explored a few functions which operate on the live output. Let's move on to functions which operate on sequences. The transport commands, play and stop, are a couple of examples which don't need any data, so the command sequence won't need a step 4. So again, we can get away with just 2 key presses to invoke, play and stop. Let's map the commands first. We need a command in live mode to get into command mode, and we'll have the play key. Now don't get confused with the live play key, which is this P function here. This one, play, plays sequences. We'll have a stop key, and that's all we need. So we can play live, you can press command, and then play. And we're back in live mode. Do command and stop. We're back in live mode and the sequence stopped. Now if we look at the main screen, there's only one sequence with data in it. That's the sequence which has been allocated as a metronome sequence. So when the play command selected all sequences, none of them had any effect because there's nothing in them. Right, there are a whole raft of other dataless commands. For example, the play 1, play 2, play 4 series, and these play a fixed number of cycles and then mute. And the opposite ones to these are a family of mute 1, mute 2, mute 4, etc., which start running in muted state for that many cycles and then unmute. And there's lots of other combinations which are all listed in the command reference document. Well, if you noticed, although we discussed the escape function in command mode, we've not used it because command sequences always try to return to live mode when they've completed successfully. So the escape function is normally used to abort a command if you've made a mistake. Say you hadn't mapped any play functions in command mode, like we have here, and you were playing along live, and you accidentally catch the command key, suddenly everything goes quiet. Now if you had an escape key, which we'll put in now, we can press that and go back to live mode. So now we've seen how the default selection behaviour can be used to select the live output or all sequences. How do we select individual items?